I'd like to call to order the City of Saugatuck City Council Workshop for August 5th, 2026. Jamie, will you call the roll?
Anderson,
Here.
Clark, Dean,
Here.
Gardner, Muncy, Peterson,
Here.
Stanton,
Here.
We have a quorum. I know for sure that Joe and Gregory will not be here today, so would like to get a motion with that. Maybe we should include Russ in that in case he does not attend, and if he does, then he's here.
Okay, I'll make a motion to excuse council member Gardner, Clark, and Muncy.
Second. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion carries. In terms of agenda changes, because we are light on key council voices, well, we're all key council voices on short-term rental ordinance changes. I would like someone to make a motion to remove discussion item, so it'd be 7B, and we will schedule it for a future workshop.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to table the short-term rental discussion for our next workshop.
Second. It's a roll call vote. Is it? Yeah, I think it is.
Anderson,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Stanton.
Yes.
Motion carries. Are there any other agenda items that anyone wishes to change?
Madam Mayor, Rakesh just joined.
All right. Rakesh, thank you for joining us. We just pushed the short-term rental discussion off to hopefully the next workshop. We don't have all of the council members here to participate in the discussion. I just saw Kevin and let him know as well, and so we have just changed the agenda. So you aren't on it today. Sorry about that, but it's really critical, I think, for an issue of this importance to the community that we have full council voice.
Okay.
So
thank you for letting me know.
Yep.
You
Okay.
guys have a good meeting.
Right. That takes us to guest speakers, and I don't think we have any. So public comment on agenda items only. Anyone wish to make a comment? Anyone online wish to make a comment? All right. That takes us to the action items. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the regular city council meetings from last Monday?
Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the regular city council meeting minutes from July 27th, 2026.
Second.
Okay, it's a roll call vote. Oh, any discussion questions before we vote? All right.
Anderson,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Stanton.
Yes.
Motion carries. That takes us to discussion items. We're starting with the Kalamazoo River Greenway. Dan, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you being here.
I've got someone's here.
Sure, do you want to join the meeting virtually and I can make you a co-host? Is that
I think that can work, yeah.
Great picture.
Very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, Dan, we do have the slides in the packet. Jamie can always scroll through them if you want to just kind of guide her on.
Same one.
Yeah,
That,
doing that? Yep.
that'll work.
it started on 19, Jamie. Yep.
19?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity to share update on the Greenway project and things we've got going on. Just wanted to go over high level some of the accomplishments we've made and where we're heading in the near term. So as a brief reminder, the Kalamazoo River Greenway, the goal of it is to basically provide more access to the river, really capitalize on some of the neglect that has been and some of the negative reputation that I would say is not fairly deserved. But really to try and work on connecting more green spaces, providing more opportunity for conservation, education, economic development, tourism, education, all those good things. So this includes the river itself, as well as a lot of the park space along it. And really, when you're talking about the health of the river, you can see on the next slide, we need to look at the whole watershed. So certainly, while we want to focus on the river corridor itself, we need to keep in mind that There are a lot of other issues and a lot of other land impacts that are at play when working on a river like this. So the plan was originally put together in 2018. We've been working on it, and we've really had some good progress down the Saugatuck Douglas area over the past 12 months. Next slide. So in the plan, we identified 9 kind of buckets of projects and opportunities that we wanted to focus on. This ranged from things like facility improvements, bathrooms, more parking spaces at our existing parks, to things like new parks, to things like invasive species management, and all the way to like agricultural best management practices that can help keep nutrients and pollutants out of our stream and help lessen issues like the amount of sediment that's in our lake. So all of the stuff that we've been working on is kind of falls into some of these buckets. And over the past year, we've had 4 meetings of our area advisory group. Lauren's been in those regularly. Holly and Ryan have kind of been apprised of things too. Next slide. Here at a glance, we've had quite a bit of success here. This is kind of in our final report, which we provided you all as well. But some of the highlights include we've had great program participation. I've been partnering with Allegan County Parks to provide more programs on the Greenway specifically, as well as other parts of the county. They don't have quite the same programmatic capacity that we do. So we've been happy to kind of help utilize some of their sites and some of the local Greenway sites around here. We've had 20 sites managed for invasive species, working in areas such as around the harbor. I know you all are working with Tanner pretty closely on the invasive species identification. We've installed about 10 rain garden projects, native plant gardens, rain barrels, things that are designed to help improve water quality. Then down to digital education campaigns, grants that we've received to help maximize and the investment that's been made locally, and a couple of great volunteer days that we've had as well. It's been a really positive first year. So next slide. To focus on restoration and conservation, our conservation services team has been working pretty extensively in the area here, focusing on both restoration of some areas as well as working with private landowners on a smaller scale. Every little bit helps, whether it's a very small rain garden or swale in somebody's front yard, all the way up to dealing with some of the larger invasive species issues and some of the bigger restoration projects. We're excited about Mount Baldy and seeing the progress that's been made there. We've also done a few smaller scale shoreline and aquatic management kind of projects, as well as continuing to work with the partners in the Potawatomi Marsh, which is kind of one of the biggest chunks of land, and for a while was a big source of invasive species. And through a lot of years of work, we're making great progress out there. Other things that we're working on, I'm working with Saugatuck Township right now on a conservation map. They are working to identify kind of priorities to work in the future on with their parks millage. So they have 5 or 6 different plans in the area, including the area 5-year recreation plan. We're working on kind of synthesizing that all together to be able to provide some guidance for them on what their priorities should be to have the best ecological bang for the buck. Land acquisition, we've had multiple conversations with at least 7 different homeowners around the area who range from I no longer want my property, is this something you guys would consider buying, all the way to I'd like to just keep living here, but is there some sort of conservation easement or something that we can talk about providing to be sure that even if I'm no longer here, my land will be protected and provided for. So we've had a variety of conversations kind of around the tri-community area. We've had due diligence being done on one significant property that I can't get too much into detail on, but we have identified one property as a project that we'd like to work on. We're still kind of in the process of doing some of the vetting. And then we're also continuing to try and work on a more regional connectivity project. There are some folks in the Holland area who I think, kind of for lack of a better term, are kind of seeking what's next for West Michigan specifically, kind of beyond pure Michigan. Like we've got a lot of great things going here, like what's our next kind of marketing, connectivity, placemaking kind of campaign, for a better word, that we can really promote our area, both for our residents and for visitors. So we're kind of in the early stages of that process, but certainly something that we see you all as a key part of what makes Michigan cool. So we will certainly want you all at the table when we're having those conversations. Our water trail is another one of our big initiatives this year. Just briefly, for those of you who don't know, a water trail is basically a means of letting people access the water, particularly paddlers who might be new to the area or new to the sport, how to get them better from point A to point B, really improve their experience. Trying to create some better recreational opportunities for them. So this is something that's been done in other locations. There are state designated water trails. Probably the closest one to us is the Grand River Water Trail that has 3 major sections. For our purposes, we really want to focus on basically from Lake Michigan up to New Richmond for now. And I think in the future, we'd look at continuing up towards Allegan. But so far, we've identified 7 sites that we'd like to utilize and promote as part of this water trail. The next page. We've been working with a series of group of partners who've been doing some of the research and vetting of some of these sites. We had a community open house back in April to get some feedback. Where we are in that is we're kind of finalizing. We do have some funding from the Saugatuck Douglas Rotary. We're working on finalizing our purchases for that and making sure the grant contract is wrapped up. We do have funding available for 2 floating kayak launches that can be utilized down in the area. City of Douglas is agreed to take 1. So if the city is amenable to it, we'd like to offer 1 for down here as well. We had talked with Scott originally about potentially at the end of Spear Street, but we could also do down at the Shopper Docks down at Coughlin Park. The vendor has the ability to basically provide the hardware to make it so that we can hook up if either of those places make sense more than the other. So that'd be something, if you're interested in, I can talk to you all more offline about that. So along with getting some of those assets in place, we have a development plan, an MOU with all of the area partners that we want to supervise, basically just agree to who's going to do what, finalize some of the logos and marketing materials. And then we will have a map and a website available. If you go to the next slide. Our initial version, you can see here, we've identified 7 sites from Saugatuck up to New Richmond with the amenities listed there and rough distances for folks from getting to point A to B. And then on the next page, we have our landing page as well as a mobile map that folks can load onto their smartphones. So if they are really not feeling confident, they can bring this up on their phone and have it with them on the water. So they know where they are and know how to get to their next spot. So some of the other project highlights that have been going on, not just work that we've been doing kind of as the ODC, but all of our municipal project partners as well. Douglas has recently completed their Union Street dock, which looks great. Saugatuck has had your improvements down at Spear Street. Those look great as well. Saugatuck Township is basically secured the Dowd property on the other side of the river from River Bluff Park. They're working on the final fundraising push for that. Fenville continues to want to be involved in the activities here, trying to connect into our area. They have applied for a rural readiness grant to look at future trail connections into their community between here in Fenville, Holland and Fenville, to really kind of tie into kind of that trail community sense. And the local Rotary has been great. They've already received 2 matching grants for Greenway initiatives. One for our water trail work, one for a proposal for some rain gardens.
Right.
I've got a few slides in here to quick show the dock installation. So this is working with Blue Vista Marine Services. Basically, we've got a couple different attachment options depending on the dock setup you have. And you can see the launches are designed basically for somebody to just paddle right up to get in and then be able to hop out and then haul their kayak out of the rack. So slip resistant, relatively easy to clean at the end of the season. So we basically have the money and have these ready to go. So if this is something that you all would entertain at your next
Well,
meeting.
That sounds
Yeah.
great.
Hope so.
Yeah, just to add to that, thank you for the presentation. I apologize for being late. At Sergeant Yacht Club, we actually had one of these donate a similar type of setup, and it's been used quite a bit. And at Spear Street Boat Launch, I'll speak for my father-in-law, who regularly launches his kayak from there. The challenge that he has, he's 83 years old and goes out in kayaks quite regularly. So pretty proud of him. This would make his efforts a lot easier because he's got a challenge. Most of us have a challenge getting out of a kayak without getting wet. And this is the kind of thing that, as long as it's not too much for the site, is definitely something I think that would get used and would encourage people to use it for that purpose. Because I think most people think that's just for boats, right? So I'm in full support of figuring out how to maybe get this to happen.
Great. I like using them and I'm
Yeah.
less than half your father's age. So
Yeah, so,
So much easier.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
one of our big volunteer events was Crazy for the Kazoo back at the end of May. We had pretty poor kayaking conditions, but we still had 37 volunteers come out. We pulled 240 pounds of trash and invasive species from 6 area parks. We had major organizational support from the Rotary and from our friends down at the Kalamazoo River Watershed Council. They work with their local Rotary and have had events in the past with a couple hundred volunteers that have come out. So they were able to loan us some gear and some expertise to make everything work. And the Allegan Conservation District help out as well. 2027, we'd like to do it again and would like to partner with the Yacht Club to hopefully cover even more of the lake and the waterfront. Our Water Smart landscaping programs, basically trying to get stormwater to go into the ground rather into off of streets or using traditional gray infrastructure, much healthier for the watershed, healthier for recharging our aquifers. And ODC has been working with landowners on the range from we can provide you a guide of here's a few plants and considerations to make all the way up to full installations for folks who are feeling uncomfortable with that. So these can be implemented by homeowners, businesses, schools, landowners, basically anybody who has property. So we did have funding from a grant from Bell's Brewery to be able to fund 10 of these as well as a couple of workshops. So we've had those go in both in the Fenville area as well as the Saugatuck area here. Our outreach and program summary, we've had those programs with Allegan County Parks, the couple of workshops for Water Smart landscaping. We've also had some additional hikes with some of our conservation staff who are doing some of the heavy work out on Mount Baldy. At least one of them likes to go out and take people around for a hike and show them some of the rare plants that are in the area, answer questions about that stuff. So those were well attended, as well as our 3 digital campaigns that are providing social media items for everybody to learn more about appropriate salt use, invasive species, topics like that. Grant applications, we did have these funds come in from the Rotary, from Bell's Brewery, as well as one from Michigan Clean Water Corps for some monitoring that I'll talk about in a minute. You see some other grants there that are either pending or those that were denied. So just to give you a list that even when we do get denied, we're trying to find as many opportunities as possible to bring outside matching dollars into the community here to make our work go farther. So if you come across anything else, please let us know. Keep them coming. Ryan's been helpful at that, but any others of you who happen to come across any opportunities, happy to talk with you about it. So talking about the health of the watershed, the health of the river, really the watershed health affects the river. And one thing we've kind of been asked is like, well, how unhealthy is the water? Like we know there's the Superfund status with the PCB contamination, but other possible pollutants such as sediment and nutrients can be a source as well. So really, we had talked about trying to establish a baseline for how healthy is the water itself, knowing that there still is the PCB issue. So we got a grant through the Michigan MyCore program, basically designed to provide communities opportunities for volunteer monitoring, citizen science a little bit, some guided workshops where folks will actually go out and collect bugs in area streams, and then bring them back. We score every stream based on the quantity and quality of bugs that we find to give us an idea how healthy the stream is. So we've been doing this for about 15 years up in the Macatawa watershed and have a pretty good data set there that has helped kind of guide some of our ideas. So down here, we'd like to focus largely on the Rabbit River. There is a nice sediment trap up on Lake Allegan that keeps a lot of dirt from coming in that way. So we really want to focus on the Rabbit River and to a little lesser extent Swan Creek as well to get an idea of what's coming in. So we've identified sites that we'd like to start doing that habitat and bug survey work. That'll start this October. We can share out an opportunity for volunteers if folks are interested. And then kind of the priorities, just to share this, when we're in our quarterly kind of update meetings, kind of keep asking like, what are the priorities? What do folks want to see us try and work on and things to address? So these are kind of 6 that are always kind of in the back of our mind that we're thinking about. Obviously grants for infrastructure, best management practices in the ag community, how do we connect spaces and acquire additional spaces, sediment and dredging issues, and watershed health assessments, how healthy is the lake. So these are all things that we are kind of talking about, discussing, and when we're looking for projects and grant opportunities, these are kind of the big ones that we are keeping track of. So what is next? We'll hopefully launch the Lower Kalamazoo Water Trail this fall yet. We will have marketing materials and pieces to go out with that. Continue our education and outreach to the community, continue to look to activate some of the sites that we already have, expand where it's possible, focus on the pillars that we talked about, and then work on creative vision for long-term growth and funding. We've really been at this on the ground here for about a year, so still very much in the beginning process, but trying to do a little strategic planning for what are potential big projects out there down the road. Is there some sort of investment strategy we can make to be ready as those hopefully come up down the road? So, and then our funding partner request, we appreciated the 5,000 from last year and hope that that's something you would be willing to renew again this year. So I think that's all I have. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, Chris?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just going through this, I'm on the Harbor Authority Board, and it's like we've got 2 parallel things going on that you don't seem to ever come across. Like you're talking about the EPA Superfund coordination, sediment, dredging, all of that thing, and funding, which is what we're trying to do too. Can you see some way where the 2 could maybe be more impactful together?
Yeah, we have a couple members on the Greenway board who also sit on that.
Is that Holly?
Specifically, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so a couple people who kind of cross-pollinate, and ideally, if there are bigger projects where it makes sense that we can collaborate on, or grant funds or projects like or monitoring details, I think those are certainly things that we would love to work more with you.
What actually is happening with the EPA Superfund coordination? Are you dealing with the feds on that, or where we're at?
Yeah, so I have a couple of contacts with the feds, and then also the Kalamazoo River Watershed Council provides regular updates. And then there's the Citizens Advisory Group that is further upstream. Basically, at this point, they are still working on finalizing the Trowbridge Dam removal is kind of their big project at this point. I know the city of Allegan has been working with them, trying to secure kind of the initial designs and funding for working on those dams. So they are kind of slowly working their way downstream. And kind of part of it is, I might be here by the time they get down here, but I might be retired at that point. So
I'll be dead.
Chris, that's exactly what I was thinking.
I don't quite want to get that morbid, but really the Greenway is trying to see what kind of recreation opportunities that we can do in the meantime while we wait for them to finish their work.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Scott?
Thanks. Do you have a rough dollar value of the grants you've received so far?
A rough value, so far, I'll try and do quick math. That's a good question. We've got about roughly 14,000 in grants, I want to say.
Okay, great. And any guess on what the prize is of these pending grants?
Prizes on the pending grants.
Yeah.
Saugatuck Township has one into the coastal management program.
Yep.
I think that one was about 200,000.
Okay.
I can confirm with Daniel, but
Okay.
it was something on that scale.
All right,
And then the others were a little smaller in the below 4-figure.
below 4-figure. Okay. Well, I just looked up on the internet what, the kayak launch costs, and that's about a $2,400 item. So I think the consensus obviously is we're all in favor of it. My gut reaction is like Councilman Gardner's, that Spear Street might be the best location, given that there's a ramp there and kayaks are even heavy to move these days, depending on the type of kayak. So to be able to get them close to the water. But I would suggest and I think the consensus is we accept your generous offer. We cycle it through Parks and Public Works just as a matter of routine, just to make sure we're not missing anything and to make sure it's something that they have line of sight of that is happening. So there's that piece. But what I'm driving at is you asked us for 5K last year. And I think at the time I said, I'd like to, when you come back to us, see some return on investment. I'm clearly seeing that. And so I'm very supportive of another 5,000 this year, given the financial progress you've made, in addition to the very good work that you've done for the environment. So I'm all in favor.
Lauren?
Dan, when you look at the Shoppers Dock versus the Spear Street ramp, do you see as one being like more conducive to a kayak launch?
I think it depends a little bit what folks would like to see, like the advantage of Spear Street. It's obviously closer, I think, for folks who want to go out towards the Oxbow and out towards the lake. Shopper Docks, you're obviously right down here and close to downtown and food and everything. So I think from a busyness standpoint, Spear Street might be a little more conducive for paddling, but I think either would be good assets.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a preference on.
No, I don't either.
but-
I like some other ideas.
On that point, there's one or two places in town that rent kayaks, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Be curious to ask them where they think a good spot might be. Now, I think the one that's down by Coral Gables, they have one of these units in the water already, I think, if I remember correctly. But that might be worth asking. I think in the Elements, does he rent kayaks?
Mhm.
Yeah, next to the yoga studio.
Yep, and then the service down by, and maybe even across the water too. I don't know, just part of that discussion may want to ask, just to say what would make logic. The Shopper Dock doesn't make sense to me because of the location. Some kayakers are not willing to go through all that traffic to get downriver. So that's why the Spear Street launch ramp just comes to mind for me.
Does it make sense to have PPW spend some time,
Yeah, we can.
I just think it's exactly what they were designed to do in terms of things that they've been talking about already, for them to just bring some extra eyes to it. I mean, obviously, the council decides yes or no.
Right.
But I always value their input. My gut is like Councilman Gardner's, given the presence of that ramp there, and to your point about the ability to more quickly compared to the launch at Douglas at the Bayou, that's more the upriver experience. For those that want to have a more downriver Oxbow experience, there's some logic to and the presence of the ramp. There's some logic there. But once again, it's a very generous offer. I think we're a yes, but I think it's always good just to get some other folks' thoughts on it that we trust, enough to put on our Parks and Public Works Committee. So.
And I was, lucky enough to go on the tour that you gave of the Macatawa area Greenway. And I was just really educated, learning how you guys are doing the work there and like trying to do some of those same things here. So if anybody has an opportunity, if you do a tour again, I would love for more council members to
That'd
be
be
able to
great.
do that same tour. Because I learned a lot from it. So, even further away from the waterway that you think of, the work that you guys are doing, it's really important. So thank you.
Yeah, happy
Yeah.
to take those around.
So in terms of next steps, the 5,000 will be on the agenda for Monday, correct? And then PPW will take a look into where the dock will go. Okay.
If I could add just a couple things, Mayor. One, I mean, to your comments about the work that the ODC is doing, I think, I mean, obviously, we all, had put in 5,000 last year, us, Douglas, like Fenpo was the exact same amount, the township, and then Rotary as well. I mean, I think seeing the work that I've seen from them this year is that, we got more than all of us frankly had put in, given all the work that they've done. So the fact that they're asking for the same amount for another year, I think is there's quite a bit of value in that. Question for Dan, has anybody else committed to funding again for another year?
So far, Douglas and the Rotary have, and I'm heading to the township next.
Great. To build off of, Chris's question about sediment, obviously, as she noted, the Harbor Authority's been very much focused on that piece of it as well, because even if dredging happens at some point, the sediment continues to come, we're just going to keep running into the same issue. And if I remember correctly, there's, in addition to the work that you're doing with data collection, there was some work or conversations happening with, I think, the Conservation District about kind of doing maybe a broader program like you did in Ottawa with reaching out to the farming community where a lot of the sediment is coming from to kind of try to stop it at its source. Is that accurate? Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so certainly when it comes to working with farmers in the watershed, we'll let kind of the Conservation District take the lead. They have one grant application out to do some of that work already. Certainly trying to control the sediment before it gets in the river, it tends to be more cost effective than getting dredging equipment out and dealing with that. So certainly, I think that's a focus specifically in the Rabbit, little less so Swan Creek, little less so on the main branch, but certainly something that we're going to keep in mind. I think a little bit of this monitoring data will help us kind of refine that a little bit, and really a lot of these techniques line up with what the Conservation District's core mission are anyway. So I think they're going to continue to be supportive and help us find opportunities to address those issues.
How successful have they been? I mean, I'm looking, Ken Trester's here, and we did that first report back in 2016, and that was the big push then, was to work with the farmers to stop the silt coming in. How effective has it been with the farmers along the waterway?
I can speak more to the Macatawa watershed, kind of also the part that's in Allegan County there. It's been very successful working with a lot of the bigger farmers. A lot of techniques that are going in and changing, especially with some of the changes in the weather pattern, are kind of encouraging a lot of folks to adopt practices that less like the ones their grandparents might have done, and more designed to keep water and keep soil on the fields, less runoff, help them be able to be a little more climate adaptive, if can use that term. So we've certainly had some success with folks in the Macatawa. Some of those folks also farm pretty extensively in the Rabbit, and I know at least several of the producers are doing things like across the board, like not just in the Macatawa. So there's been some success there. The Conservation District staff continues to do outreach and provide opportunities for grant funding and more education kind of with their funds that they have.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and to that point, Chris, I think, I made myself a note. I think we'll reach out to maybe the Conservation District and invite them maybe to a future Harbor Authority meeting to kind of give you an update on that. And then the last piece on the kayak launcher, we had some initial conversations, or I did as staff with Dan on this a couple months ago, and this was a possible donation that might be coming forward. We did receive DNR funds for both the shopper docks and the Spear Street launch. So we do have, there can be restrictions in place if you accept those grants with not making modifications. In this case, looking at the grant agreements, I don't see any explicit like prohibition on a kayak launch or anything like that. It is something though, just to be safe, that we'd probably want to run across the desk of the DNR just to make sure that they're comfortable with it, because they would have approved those site plans previously. But I think the north side of that, like the northernmost dock on the north side of it, the Spear Street launch, I mean, it's not really for launching,
Right,
it
usable.
might be like most natural place to put a kayak launcher or something along those lines. But, we can, if that's, the intended location, we'll, can double check with them to make sure we're not running afoul of any previous grant, dollars that we received there. And then just a question for you, Dan, like, so it's donation of the launch is, like installation included in that donation, like from the I don't know who it's coming from.
The
but-
company can come down and either do the installation themselves, or if they want to meet with the DPW staff and just kind of coach them through it, they're willing to do either way.
On that point, we should probably also ask DPW in terms of the removal of that and installation in the spring, because they cannot be left in the water over the season. They should be removed and put somewhere protected. I don't remember from the yacht club how they actually attach to the dock. I don't know if they're tied or they're not installed necessarily. They're just,
It looks like
Held in
looks like
place.
there's a couple different mounting options.
okay.
Can either do like traditional dock poles, or there's like some clasping
Oh,
hinges.
right, okay, yeah, right now, okay, yep, now I remember that. So we just need to talk about the logistics and just kind of the additional work that this will put on our DPW staff for maintenance and removal.
Great. Anything else? Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you
Thank you
coming
very
in.
much,
Thanks for
Dan.
all the
Yeah.
great
Thank you.
work. Okay, that takes us to discussion item C, the chili cook-off request to stake tent and asphalt pavement on page 59. Ryan, you want to tee that up for us?
Yes, Mayor, you all know the chili cook-off has been a longstanding event in the community. From my understanding, for many years, they've staked the tent into the pavement itself, the Wix parking lot. As you know, we paved the lot last fall. The event organizers have expressed interest in staking the tent into the new pavement. Public Works reviewed this request, and I apologize, Mark's not here. He's out this week. So you get my explanation of this and not having that hat necessarily, but in Mark's review of this, essentially, there's concern that obviously putting holes in new pavement, creates opportunities for moisture to enter those areas. And, obviously we know with the freeze thaw cycles in Michigan that, moisture entering those areas can cause cracking and potholes and that sort of thing. So Mark's recommendation was to not allow staking into the new pavement there. And that the event organizers, consider using blocks, which isn't an uncommon way to secure a tent if you can't stake it in a certain area. I did talk with John Moxley, our contractual engineer, this week. He agreed with the Public Works assessment and recommendation that over time the staking could cause issues with cracking and potholes. And he noted that there could be some more permanent anchoring type systems that they could look at. From the event organizer's perspective, obviously they're trying to control their costs. They have a charitable donation that they provide each year, and are not trying to eat into that charitable donation if they can avoid it. And their cost, they reached out to their tent provider, and apparently it's going to cost them $1,132 to do the blocks versus staking the ground. Now their tent provider is indicating that they'd be willing to plug the hole, but again, that's where Public Works has concern that moisture could still enter those areas and cause issues over time. So from an alternatives perspective, I talked with our previous Public Works superintendent, because my understanding there was some conversations several months ago about this, and that there was, I think, some sort of meeting earlier this winter. And my understanding from the previous Public Works superintendent was that they kind of discussed maybe a permanent anchoring type system, but that he didn't receive follow up on that. In my communications with the event organizer, I've we suggested maybe looking at Coughlin Park as another option, to not have the pavement issue, or pursuing additional sponsorships to cover that additional cost. So, they'd like the stake into the new pavement. The staff recommendation, engineering recommendation is not to allow that, given the public investment that we've made. I certainly respect the work that they're trying to do from a charitable perspective, but we also have a public investment and public dollars into this, and hopeful that, I actually personally reached out to the CVB to talk with them to see, if it's something that maybe they might consider, a sponsorship of the event. I mean, obviously talking with the CVB director, can't speak for her board, but, she encouraged, Kyle to, reach out to her, apply, submit, and that they would, she would work on bringing it to the board to see what they might have to say. So that's one sponsorship, opportunity, but ultimately, my understanding was that there was a request from some council members to have this on your agenda. You don't have a policy that allows for staking into pavement. So I would say it would be probably pretty uncommon that most communities would allow for that. But I look forward to your feedback. So
And before I open it up real quick, I do think we have to think about this from a policy perspective because, regardless of who it is, it's like, how do we feel about staking our pavement? So, and the reason why it would be before council, because, Lauren.
I know it wouldn't help this year, but what do we know about the permanent anchoring system? Like, is that something that can be done, going forward? I mean, it's not going to help this year. But...
Yeah, I understanding talking with Mr. Moxie and again, Scott Herbert, that an anchoring system is something that could be a possibility to explore there for future years. I don't know what the cost of that would be, but then, whether it would be, a cost share or ask from Kyle to pay for that, or whether we're willing to pay for that. That would have to be worked out, but at least from our engineers, they're indicating that that might be an option for future years. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So why is it so expensive? Over $1,000 to do the cement blocks? Why is it so expensive? Does anybody know? It's just a lot for them to haul and staff labor.
Probably. I personally don't have an experience with it, but that would be my understanding, is that it's another piece of equipment they have to haul. They're heavy, just another additional thing that they have to manage as part of the overall process of, bringing the tent in and erecting it, et cetera.
Okay.
But I'm just speaking from kind of what I've learned.
And did the CVB say whether they might be willing to go to the board and ask, for a donation to help with the cost?
The executive director, encouraged an application to them and said she would, work with the event organizers on completing that application and at least bring that request forth, is my understanding.
Yeah, and I also understand they can't have it at Coughlin Park because it has to be on a hard surface. That's just what the health department requires when it comes to this sort of event. So, I certainly want to work with them to figure out, the best thing that we can do to keep it here in Saugatuck. If we had another location, we would still have to put, like if you closed off a street in Saugatuck, that maybe, that there's definitely other places that it could be done, but it is brand new pavement and I would hate to do damage to it.
What Councilmember Stanton said, which is let's looking at finding a long-term strategy.
Yeah.
It's too bad it's this late.
Yeah.
It's too bad that we didn't have the discussion with the council several months ago. I noticed City Manager Ryan's comments about we're open to looking into this. And I think that's a good way to look at this. Let's try to, we want to keep it here.
Yeah.
They've already put $4,000 to $5,000 into the electrical there. I would think that we would want to save our asphalt, and I'm sure there's ways to do that, as Mr. Moxie said, more permanent, and let's just get through this one and then make sure that it's there ongoing.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same place as Councilmember Peterson. Let's solve the immediate problem. And then also to your point, let's think about this more long-term. Yeah, I agree with the DPW and our city engineer that the pavement should not be damaged, shortening its lifespan and creating a precedent for it happening elsewhere where we're trying to modernize our infrastructure. Given though the late hour of this and it appears we weren't able to get on top of this quick enough, is there a way we can be helpful in, and I think Councilman Gardner's probably right. It's probably a logistics issue of hauling giant concrete blocks. Do we know if DPW has something like that that could be used as anchoring for this event? I mean, I know Douglas has a wealth of concrete blocks that they use all over the place, but I don't know what we have at DPW. I don't know if we can at least help with the anchoring if CVB doesn't come through with, some assistance. And without Mark here, maybe we don't have that answer.
I bet we have some blocks, but I don't know if they're the right kind. I mean, certainly we can share images and dimensions and with the tent folks and have,
I mean, the easy answer would be CVB. I mean, I would, personally, I want to see this event stay in Saugatuck. I don't want to see it leave. It's a great event. But I also agree that it's become so popular. The past few years I've been there, it's standing room only.
Mhm.
It's
It
actually,
almost needs a bigger space.
well, that's what I was going to say. In
Yeah.
my view, it's actually outgrowing Wicks Park. It really is.
Yeah,
And I
the
don't,
parking lot anyway.
yeah, the parking lot, yeah. And I'm wondering if there is a creative way, particularly if CVB engages, there's a great space, covered space, at the SCA. The Taste of Saugatuck thing that Alec is organizing seems to have cracked the code on serving food in a park.
Well, they're doing it in the parking lot by.
Oh, it is in the parking lot
at
as
Sing-
well.
at,
So the food is,
Singapore, yeah.
so the food's gonna go there. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, got it.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm a no on staking in the asphalt, but I'm very open if it can't be worked through, the charitable sector, the private sector, whatever if others can't work it, I would be amenable to us seeing if DPW can come up with something creative that can be helpful.
Go ahead.
ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And I respect the engineers and everybody that's been weighing in on the asphalt staking. What's right in front of us, though, is that we have an event that's already been approved. We approved it on July 13th with the expectation is that it would be as exactly as it's been in the years past, right? And that included asphalt stake. Well,
I mean,
the event was approved. Let's leave it at that.
Yep.
How many years has the event been at Wicks Park parking lot? Do you know, Ken?
I've operated the event for 14 years and was there at least 15 years before that.
Okay, so it's been a while. The asphalt was repaired or replaced, not as a result of the staking, but just because of use, right? So the asphalt staking didn't necessarily result in the city having to replace the asphalt. But going forward, I think it is worth having a discussion about what a better solution is so we don't put ourselves in that position. So I think this year we need to, I would be willing to say the city will cover the additional costs that we've asked the applicant to have to pay to put, because I don't think DPW is going to be able to do this quickly. I just don't think we have what they would need. You have to work with the rental company. I'm assuming it's Taylor Rental to get that to work together.
If I could add, the number of cement blocks required for this.
Hey, Ken, do you want to come up to the podium?
Okay,
So it's on the record.
Yeah. Just so people can hear you at home.
all right.
Hi, Ken.
The number of cement blocks required for anchoring that tent is about 35. And they're just, I don't know that DPW has anywhere near that capacity.
Yeah, I personally don't want to get DPW in that business, so but I do, and I also think that staking, I mean, and especially, I mean, on any circumstances, because if we stake that, then where do we say we're not staking? And we just repaved it, and as a taxpayer, I don't want to damage it, but I agree that there's there's a way we can
it can't
come up with a solution.
Be all or nothing. I mean, there's
Right,
gotta be a
yeah,
way.
so, and I, agree, the CVB, or other businesses who might want to chip in to, because it does bring people into town, that people might be willing to cover that. And as a last resort, I guess.
And I think the application process for CVB is going to be a bit of time. They're probably not going to turn that around quickly. So I think, Ken, when I talked with you earlier today, you said it's about $1,300 additional for the.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
Yeah. From my perspective, the city has approved the event and I don't want it to leave Saugatuck. As a matter of fact, it should not leave Saugatuck. That's one of the few events in our community where it's actually community. You go there and you see all your friends and everybody you know. doesn't say anything about other events in town, but this is strictly for and has been for the benefit of our locals.
Right.
I go there to just see everybody that I don't see very often. So I'd be willing to say, if we want to just say, we'll cover the additional cost because we've already approved the event. It's a small amount of money to get us into the event for this season. Talk about some of the longer term solutions, like perhaps maybe permanent anchors we could put in the, whatever, that doesn't help the event this year. So
I agree.
Well, I just want to say, I think, this is a
conditional,
question that I could,
one-time conditional support.
and this is something that I can discuss with legal counsel after the workshop, but generally there can be limitations on using public funds for events. Like we can use public funds specifically on things like Independence Day or Veterans Day or Memorial Day, but giving,
No, Ryan's right.
dollars to, there could be some limitations on doing that, so.
I've looked at the state statute a number of times for events other than Armistice Day. And by the way, the American Legion is going to be coming to this council asking for another donation for flowers from Fuchsia for 11/11. But yeah, this I believe would be contrary to the state statute on using municipal funds for an event.
Let's find a way around that. Frankly,
Well,
make it happen.
if we can get an answer maybe from the CVB, to make a
Yeah.
contribution towards this, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously I don't control their agenda or, but I don't know if there's been any conversations at all that Ken's had with the CVB yet, but their next meeting's on August 20th. So then there might be a possibility to get on that agenda, I would think, but.
Ken, how much money does this event generate for the charities that you support?
Well, the net proceeds are usually in the neighborhood of $10,000 or $11,000, and every dollar of that is used for our charitable work.
So a $1,300 additional cost.
Is 10%.
Yes, right.
Well, so it sounds like next steps would be for Cowhill to go to CVB in August. Ryan can do vetting with the attorneys and see where that goes. I mean, if the city is able to donate or fund that, I'm willing, I mean, we can consider that. I think that would certainly be the most expedient solution, but we have to be sure we aren't getting afoul of the law with that. And it seems like it's an appropriate fit for CVB or other local businesses that would want to sponsor it. I would think, right? That would be an option.
Yeah, and then down the road, the permanent anchoring system, if we can
Yeah,
think about that.
that's something.
Yep. This should just be a,
Work with us on that.
Yeah.
yep.
Sure.
Right.
Well, I think from listening to all of us, we're more than willing to work with you on that. I think we need to nail that down. That
Yeah.
we're going to work with you to make this a permanent thing so it stays in Saugatuck.
Well, I have to evaluate what that would be like. I mean, I think we need to know more to,
I honestly think that the event is so successful that I think it could easily be bigger, frankly. If we made the city parking lot next to the SCA available for a bigger tent, I think it would. And I think the CVB, when they look at the shoulder season, I agree with Councilman Gardner that it is one of those nice kind of events that kind of the locals know about and the locals
Right.
kind of flock to. It's a tradition. I get all that.
I'm all about making it bigger.
But I
Yeah.
think, once again, it's.
We never turn people away.
No.
So
And
it's
it-
bigger. Yeah.
And I think it is something that the tourists like, to
Yeah.
be able to take part in some of our little small town traditions. I mean, we certainly know what the Christmas parade's like, or the Hootsville parade is like.
Yeah.
So I think let's work together and try to make this bigger. But yeah, I have to support staff and I want to make sure we are not violating state statute.
Yeah.
Well, and they're
in
trying
trying to
to-
be helpful.
They're trying to do shoulder season stuff.
Exactly.
This is one of the most
Yeah.
popular shoulder season things we have to keep
Yeah.
there.
100%.
And
So hopefully they'll donate.
And out of all due respect to Councilmember Dean, I do not think it's the council's responsibility to tell events that they should be getting bigger.
Oh, I just like it
Yeah,
so much. I
that
just want more
shows a lot of
local, that's
support
all.
for it, but that's up to the organizers to decide what they'd like to do to expand it and then come back to the city and say, could you make the FCA lot available, for instance, or could you, the thing that's recently come up with all this discussion has been the Taste of Saugatuck. I've had several people ask me why that went away, and that used to be on Butler Street, or not, pardon, Butler, Water Street. Took up about, I think, 2 city blocks. And if I remember right, they staked down tents on Water Street. So anyway, there's a precedent for this, but I think it's up to the organizers to decide, hey, we'd like to get bigger.
Yeah, You're right.
That's-
It's for them to decide how successful they
Yeah.
wish to be.
Well,
I'm
actually,
sure he's got a lot to manage already with.
yeah,
I
and
mean, we've got to look at the ROI here, and bigger means more tent space,
Yeah.
more cement blocks and just more expense. And will we get more attendees to compensate for that?
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, you're great. Great.
Thanks for being here, Ken.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thank you for considering this.
Yes.
Thanks. So I'm going to just sum up what I think we heard, that we're very open to looking at how we can help longer term, short term. CVB is the first stop for getting financial support for this. Okay. All right. With that, we get to the second public comment period. Anyone wish to make a public comment? Anyone online wish to make a public comment? All right. With that, we'll go to council comments. Chris?
Just like Lauren, Brainerd, get over it. I know. That's all I've got. Thanks for working with the chili cook-off. It's such a wonderful thing.
Yep, I second that comment and apologize for being late.
All right. We did excuse your absence, but we'll note in the minutes that you arrived. That you
Thank
were
you.
here when we did roll call.
Appreciate that.
Scott?
Yeah, looking forward to the chili cook-off, and I hope it stays in Saugatuck forever. Really appreciate the presentation from the ODC. A lot of progress on a really important asset of our tri-community area, the watershed.
Lauren?
I don't have anything else to add, Mayor.
All right. I just want to thank Jamie and all of and Sarah and all of the election inspectors for another great, well-run election yesterday. Saugatuck
Here.
had the highest turnout of any community in Allegan County, almost 50%.
Just under 50%.
Just under
Really?
50%.
That's
And
incredible.
it runs so smoothly, and again, we get all of our the audits that we go through, we pass with flying colors, and Jamie does a great job, and the team she's assembled do a great job. So thank you for that. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second. All in favor, say yes.
Yeah.